Friends, we are going to begin the service in just a few moments for Mrs. Sheila Muriel Orleans. On behalf of the family, I want to start by thanking everybody for joining us via the live stream. Serving as pallbearers today are Sheila's grandchildren. As we pull away the cart. Thank you, pallbearers. Everybody can gather on this side under the tent and around. We're going to have the family sit in front. So please watch your steps. Some of the ground is a little bit uneven.
The family coming in for turn, but I can stand and I'll show you sit.
And once again, on behalf of the family, I do want to thank those of us who are joining on the live stream. Just to keep in mind, there is a camera sort of facing this way. There's another gentle reminder, if anybody does have a cell phone on, please maybe take a moment to turn it on silent. Officiating our service today is Rabbi Baruch Plakin of the Donna Klein Jewish Academy. And in just a few moments, the rabbi will approach the family in the ancient custom of Kriya.
Sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. Please come under.
Okay.
Like this one?
No.
Take a minute. We sing together. Please join me. Hallelujah. 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 Ay, 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 ay. Ay 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 ay. Ay 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 ay. Ay 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 ay. Ay 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 ay. Hallelujah. 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 Mizmor David, Adonai Roi Lo Echsar. A song of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. Benot Desha Yarisein Almei Menuchot Yan Chaleni. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. Almei menuchot yanchaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yanchenu maglet tzedek. Lima anshimo. God restores my soul and guides me in the righteous paths for God's name's sake. Gam ki elech begates al mavet lo irara. Ki ata imadi shivtecha mishantecha hema. Yenachamuni. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged zorai. V'shanta b'shem enoshi kosi rivaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirfuni kol yemei chayai. V'shamti b'veit Adonai l'orech yamim. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. Eishet chayil miyamsa v'rachok mimnim mikra batach balev bala v'shala lo yechsa sheker hachen v'hevel hayofi isha yirat Adonai Hiti talaltinu la mi priyadeha v'hallelujah v'shari maseha. My name is Rabbi Baruch Plotkin, and I'm a close friend to the Orleans family. And I had the unique, I think it was really an honor to spend the night, 2 nights ago, with the family. And we shared about 2 hours together. And with the family, we learned Sheila's life. And so I am honored and privileged. And I hope that I will give her the dignity and the honor that she deserved to share these words of hesped, eulogy for Sheila. Sheila Muriel Orleans. She was Sheila Muriel Mann, became Orleans, the beloved daughter, sister, wife, mother, nana, great nana, devoted aunt, and a dear friend. Sheila was born to Maury and Gert Mann on May 30th, 1931 in Chicago at Mount Sinai Hospital. They were the best parents in the world. She was fortunate. She was brought up on the north side of Chicago, and her younger sister Barbara, they were so close. She shared the other night how much she loved her sister and spoke so highly about her. We love each other. And that immediate family, Maury and Gert and Sheila and Barbara, was important throughout Sheila's life. It formed the basis of her strong family. Her parents were the best in the world to her, and they were so close throughout her life. She had lots of friends, and she stayed friends with them throughout her life. Many have passed, but her friend Marilyn from kindergarten. They remained friends even till now. They played kaluki together. They even happened to travel together to Spain. When she was a kid, she played bridge and she played tennis. She went to Senn High School. And then Sheila started the University of Michigan. And at that time, not very many women actually went to college. She finished the National Louis University with a degree in teaching. She met her beloved husband, Howard, on a blind date. The mothers fixed them up. Her mother, Nana Gert, and her late husband, Howard's mother, Nana Ellen, fixed them up, and they were married in 1955. They were married for almost 40 years. Howard was 29, and Sheila was 24 years old. She was a teacher, and Howard's first job was at Bristol selling furniture, and then he went into real estate. Howard loved her so much. She was so beautiful. Laura remembers her dad telling her specifically how beautiful he thought Sheila was. And she was. She was a beautiful woman. They lived on Touhy Avenue in north side of Chicago and moved to Highland Park. First, they had Francie in 1956, and then Jim in 1958. And just 6 months before Laura was born, the family was hit with a terrible tragedy. Francie, their first daughter, just 6 years old, lost her life suddenly in a tragic accident. It was a dark and difficult time and made the early years of the family's life difficult. And they never spoke about it. Jim sharing about his mother, our dad, Howard, he had a lot of health issues. And she would rush him to the hospital in the south part of the city. She would drive there every day and visit him. It was a big deal. She would stay there. And that was a big part of their early life. She was really devoted to our dad. She always took care of him. Today is actually on the Jewish calendar, Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura. Literally the day of remembrance of the Holocaust and of heroism. In Israel, it's not just referred to as Holocaust Remembrance Day. There's an emphasis on heroism as well, of all those that fought back and were able to move on. In some ways, perhaps it's fitting that Sheila's funeral will be today on Yom HaShoah. Because just as the Jewish people remember the tragedy of the past and were able to pay tribute, and they had the courage and the fortitude and the bravery and the resilience to go through those challenging times and to lead her family through it. Sheila was able to do that. When Howard died, she was very independent. She was really able to handle her own life. She never wanted to impose. She wanted her children to have their lives and live independently. And she didn't want to be a burden. She was a devoted wife and an amazing, loving mother. She was truly one of the kindest people you will ever meet. That was who she was. And her kids' happiness was so important to her. Laura continued to share. That's who she was. She was a great mom. She was my best friend. She was my whole life until she wasn't able to be anymore. I spoke to her on the phone all the time. We were dear friends. She loved to shop. She would love to take Laura shopping to buy clothes. It was a fun outing for the both of them. Once a year for the holidays, Laura would go to Bonwit Teller and she'd get a new dress. Sheila loved doing that. It was fun, and they'd do it a lot. Sheila was all about family, and just spending time with the family shopping was a great outing. How about her cooking? A few laughs. She made a good green bean casserole and a Jell-O mold, but she was not known for her cooking. She liked to eat out, and she ate out a lot. The whole family did. Most people go out for dinner for a special occasion. This family, They went out, and on a special occasion, she would make dinner. She once made a broccoli cheese casserole. It did not taste very good. And nobody was exactly sure what was wrong with it until they discovered that she had left the saran wrap on it, and the plastic had melted into the broccoli, into the cheese. She was an avid mahjong player. 4 crack, 5 bam. That's what you would hear in the house in the basement. She was really good at it too. When she played mahjong, you know, you get that card, the mahjong card. She had the whole thing memorized. She didn't even need the card. She was great, and she won all the time. She probably made $100,000, 10 cents at a time. She was a pretty big sports fan too. She could sit down and watch a Bears game. She was always very close with her parents. They had a small family, but it was tight-knit. When Jim and Laura were young, Sheila's parents, Maury and Gert, got an apartment in Florida, and they would visit them every year. Her immediate family was a big part of her life. That extended to her own family, and with her sister Barbara's family too. They were all very close. Her nephew Mark reflects, I remember clearly, 1967. I would go over to the house over the weekend with my cousins. We would build tents and forts together with pillows and blankets. I learned math with my cousin Jim. Even then, he was this math genius. We would be served the best ice cream sundaes and watch TV with the safety and security of family. She was an amazing aunt. I will never forget her. Every Sunday, all the cousins would come together and they would go for Chinese food. Ho Cow Chinese. She loved Chinese food. That was absolutely her favorite. On the holidays, the guys would play cards and then women were talking. It was a great feeling for everybody to be together. Her son-in-law, Paul, reflects, as a son-in-law, you can't ask for a better mother-in-law. She was wonderful. There was nothing she wouldn't do. She was sweet and kind and loving and treated me like one of the family from the first day. I was good in her eyes. I felt immediately part of the family. She was wonderful to us. Sheila would go down to Florida for a yearly visit. She rented a place with Barbara, her sister, and it was nice for the Orleans to have their grandma near them for a few months a year. They would have a week of birthday parties and have 3 months of seeing each other all the time. Andrea explains, I always felt like she treated me like a daughter and was really good with my kids. We would go shopping too. The funny thing was the cooking. Andrea was more of a cook. And when Andrea and Jim first got married, they invited her over for Shabbat dinner. And Sheila was like, this matzo ball soup is so delicious. Where did you buy it? Andrea said, I didn't buy it. I made it. She said, you made it? She didn't really believe her. She was surprised that you could actually make something at home that delicious. And everybody explained Andrea was really a great daughter, especially when it counted. She was a beloved Nana. Brian, Jake, and Allie will talk a little bit more about the specifics, but basically, she lived for her grandchildren. There was nothing she wouldn't do for her kids and her grandkids. She would send them gifts, even in her biggest decline. She would send Valentine gifts. Every birthday you would get a gift. Every Hanukkah you would get a gift. Sending those gifts were important to her. Nana was a huge part of every one of her grandchild's lives. With the Chicago kids, when the grandkids, Jake and Allie, were little, every Tuesday she would come downtown, spend the day, and then they'd have dinner together. Daniel remembers, we didn't see her as much as our cousins up north, but every time we would see her, I was so excited to stay with her. She would load up the fridge with everything we wanted, chocolate milk, ice cream, favorite cereals, all the things our mom wouldn't let us get. And when Aaron first met Sheila, she realized that Dan really loved his Nana. She had heard of a mama's boy before, but never a Nana's boy. When they came home from Michigan, they would have to have every meal with her. Aaron explains, we'd go for breakfast with her, and Dan would be like, Nana, what are you doing for lunch? And then at lunch, she would say, Nana, what are you doing for dinner? And she would get very offended if you would try to pay for a meal. There was absolutely no way you could pay for any of the meals. She was determined. It was important for her to make her grandchildren happy. Lindsay recalls, she would say, eat whatever you like, anything on the menu. She was the fun grandparent. She wanted to be the fun grandparent. Lindsay and Dan continue. We remember when she was in Florida, we'd go bowling and do all the fun activities with her. And as we were older and when she met Oliver, Lindsay's dog, she would ask about him always, even though she wasn't a huge fan of dogs. She was a fan of her family. And what was important to them was important to her. Dan shared a story. I remember we had a family trip to Vegas. Nana wanted to gamble with my dad. And she wasn't so comfortable with all the money and all the chips. And they started winning. And Jim would keep adding more chips. And she'd get so uncomfortable with it. When the bets got really high, I mean really high, I think it was maybe $100, she'd be like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a heart attack. Even later in life, when her health deteriorated, her eyesight and her hearing, and then some dementia, she would say to her children, you have your own life. She never wanted to impose on her children or grandchildren, but she was still always there. She was always determined to be part of their lives. And in 2015, she went to 3 different college graduations of 3 different grandchildren in 3 different cities, all in a row. She was determined to go to those graduations no matter what. And after, she was wiped out. But she was happy and pleased she could attend all the weddings of those grandkids that had them. And although by this time her health had slipped even more, she was determined to dance at their weddings. And even when she could hardly stand, she danced at those weddings. And she celebrated her grandchildren. She even got to meet her great-granddaughter once, even though she was bedridden. Laura reflects, I was happy she was able to end her life at home with no machines. I think she was happy that her life ended the way she wanted it to be, at home. Sheila Muriel Orleans, beloved daughter, sister, wife, mother, Nana, great Nana, devoted aunt, dear friend to many. She will be missed dearly and always be in our hearts. I'd like to ask Jake and Allie to please come up and share a few words.
Caring, generous, thoughtful, strong, loving are kind words that come to mind when I think of my grandmother, Nana. Although we lost our Papa, and so this is on behalf of my sister Allie and myself. Although we lost our grandfather, Papa, when she was 2 years old and I was 4, I was fortunate to have such a close relationship with our grandmother Sheila for our entire lives. When we were younger, she never missed a single dance recital, ice skating show, or tennis match. We fondly remember her smiles when she greeted us with a bouquet of flowers, and she was always so very proud of us. These were fun activities for her, but she was also a trooper. We joked for years about how she endured watching some of the worst movies ever created with us, like Scooby-Doo, and she spent hours watching us at Super Just Games and arcade, and she shared lots of medium rare fish with my grandfather. She truly embodied putting others' happiness above her own, and to that end, she loved to take Allie shopping to get her nails done, probably because she hated Allie biting her nails. And with me, she always, and anything that I enjoyed doing, she enjoyed doing as well. She never missed a milestone. She was ensured, we had countless dinners with her at Ron of Japan, never missing a birthday. She probably enjoyed the egg sauce as much as we did. We can't count how many hot dogs that we've enjoyed at Michael's or orders of Chinese food that we've shared. And as the rabbi noted, if anybody dared to bring out their credit card during paying, she was having none of it. We fondly remember spending so many holidays with her as well, opening presents at all of our annual Hanukkah parties, and being with her for every Seder, and hosting every Break the Fast meal on Yom Kippur. We'll forever associate lox, bagels, and sable with her, as we would race to her condos for food after fasting all day. She had all of our favorites, and she would always make sure to keep some of our favorites aside so that no one else would eat them before we arrived. She constantly put Allie, myself, her other grandchildren, and her family in front of us, and that's a memory that we'll have for the rest of our lives. And thank you, Rabbi.
I'm going to ask Brian to share a few words.
Thank you. My Nana Sheila would be blown away by seeing all of you being here present today, here in Chicago and via Zoom. I can imagine her being embarrassingly bashful about such a clear outpouring of love from support of her and for her and her family. Those closest to her, namely my dad and Aunt Laura, clearly also need support in this time. I've seen firsthand how much my dad glowed from every message he received in the past couple of days. At quite a number of them, he'd blubber at reading through them, not out of sadness, but in awe of how grateful he was for such touching gestures. So thank you all for your support. I know we all really appreciate it. The lens I saw my grandmother through was primarily in her role as mother, grandmother, and very recently great-grandmother. And the resounding adjective that comes to mind to describe her was selfless. She really thrived from bringing pleasure to those around her that she loved. One facet of this selflessness was that she hated to see us suffer, even in the most minute of ways. I wanted to point that out because there's a story I wanted to share. Among the many phases and odd things I've gotten myself into over the years, and there were quite a few of them. One was signing up to be a paid participant in a nutritional clinical trial. They controlled everything I ate for 8 weeks, but because the study was short on money, the food they gave me was very cheap and pretty much had no flavor. My usual dinner was boiled chicken, potatoes, a third of a quart of yogurt, and some container of a mixture of unknown fat contents. I was on the study while visiting Chicago, and naturally went out to our favorite restaurant, Portillo's. She saw this diet, and she hated that I couldn't be eating my favorite Chicago meal. She asked me, "Why in God's name are you doing this study?" The real answer was complex, but the easy answer for her was to say that I was going to make $1,000. So she yelled out an exclamation, "I'll pay you $1,000 right now to end this darn study." In my self-righteousness, I didn't accept her offer, but still, I think that spoke to how much she ached to see us in discomfort. Some of my most fond memories come from her just spoiling myself, my siblings, and my cousins. As young kids, we all loved to visit from Florida because time with Nana meant some great fun. Usually that included sleepovers, where she would buy us special groceries and candy for us, as a lot of others said. Thank you. Is that working?
Yeah, it's working.
We'd often go on trips with my cousins to the local video arcade, Super Just Games. We'd play pickup sticks in Duck Hunter. We learned that shopping was just as much of a sport as well as a leisure activity. Perhaps it was from all that shopping which she developed the endurance to live all the way to 90. Time with Nana was more than just stuff and activities, but more importantly, there was a sense of freedom and just being able to hang out and have fun. She gave us the attention that made us feel like the most special kids in the world. I think that was primarily which led all of us children to think of her so fondly. I believe she derived a great and deep satisfaction from giving us that. As we got older, a meaningful thing for Nana was being present in our big life events. It seemed like the most important thing to her in the world was to be present for the bar mitzvahs, the graduations, the weddings. And in her declining health, making it to these events was even more of a feat. But her determination to attend these was unwavering. I really think this spoke to how much she valued her role as a grandmother. As many of you know, my grandmother suffered from dementia in her final years. What to me best illustrates her devotion to us grandchildren was that during these early years of the disease, despite forgetting a number of small things where she was or her schedule, one thing that stayed with her was her default to steer all conversations towards us, ensuring that we were happy, pain-free, and well off at any time. To me, this illustrated how this devotion to us was such a core part of who she was. And I imagine her devotion will be at the fore of how many of us will remember her. Thank you all again for your magnificent love and kindness towards us in this difficult time.
Now I'll ask Jim to say a few words.
I would like to thank everyone on behalf of Laura and my family. We are immensely grateful for all your support through this time. I also want to give a special thanks to my friend Rabbi Plotkin for flying in from Florida and leading us through this ceremony today. Having been through this before with our dad, we know the memories of those who support us in this town still remain something we are grateful for. As you heard, my mom was a devoted wife, mother, daughter, sister, grandmother, great-grandmother, aunt, and friend. She was the nicest person to everybody she met. To illustrate, I have a lot of my friends here that I've known for over 50 years. And it seems like there isn't a single one of them that doesn't compliment me on how nice she was and how warm she was to them. Anybody who meets my mom would quickly see her sweet side and her beautiful smile. What was often hidden, though, was the fortitude with which she had to face difficult situations that many of us could not imagine. My older sister, Francie, was killed on a bike when I was 3. She saw my dad have 2 heart attacks at our kitchen table. Not only did she have the resilience to bounce back from these losses, but she had the toughness and courage to lead her family so gracefully through such difficult times. As a result of the loss of my older sister, Francie, she learned not to sweat the small stuff that all of us often get caught up in. She instead stayed focused on making sure her family was happy and being grateful for their presence. In doing so, she was a little lenient at times, which my friend, especially Jeff Worth, can attest to. There was one time where Jeff and I were home while they were out of town, and he broke our kitchen window, and this was in the middle of winter, so all the pipes froze over. But her compassion really shined through when she came home. So instead of reprimanding us, she decided to quickly forgive us with no punishment. Needless to say, I learned my parenting style from my mother. Throughout our life, my dad and my mom were my sisters and my biggest fans. From sports, academics, big life decisions, and everyday decisions, their support was unwavering. As a result, I had the confidence to work hard at my passions and trust things will work out. Also, they were great role models. They taught us to think of others before ourselves. Both my parents were always very kind and always helping others. Unfortunately for my family, my dad died when my children were very young. By then, Andrea's parents were sadly gone as well. As a result, my mother was the only grandparent for most of their lives. She would do anything she could for them. She lived for taking them shopping. The kids loved having sleepovers at her condo, being treated to chocolate milk and Twizzlers. I'm guessing she probably never said no to them. My sister followed in her footsteps and became the most devoted daughter any parent could ask for. For many years, Laura took care of all her needs, from pills, doctor appointments, bills, ensuring she had wonderful caregivers. Laura was clearly not just helping with logistical support, but became her emotional support as well. During these years, my mother struggled with dementia, but her caregivers, Patricia and Mary, were the best, most reliable patient caregivers that we could have ever hoped for. My sister and I never had to worry about my mom because we knew she was in the best hands with Patricia and Mary. Patricia had been with my mom for 7 years and Mary for over 4. Between the two of them, they watched my mom 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for the last several years. I can't say it enough. I'm so immensely grateful for the support my sister and these caregivers had given my mom in recent years. My mom lived a great life, and I want to share a few joyful recent memories I had with her that I think you'll find humorous. With her onset of dementia, there were a few comical lapses in memory, though to be clear, I know my mom remembered me almost all the time. I want this to highlight that I really found deep joy with her in recent years. So I'm just going to tell a couple stories. So I went for Daniel's graduation at Michigan, and Andrea, Lindsay, and Brian all sat down below, and I sat up with my mother. And this guy comes in, and he sits next to her, and he asked my mom, he's like, "Who are you here to see?" And my mom's so proud. She's like, "I'm here to see my grandson." And she's, then she asked him, "Who are you here to see?" And he's so proud. He's like, "My granddaughter's graduating." And then a minute later, the guy asked my mom, "Who are you here to see?" And she goes, "My grandson." And she's so proud. And then she goes, "Who are you here to see?" I thought I was in a Twilight Zone. And the other story was, about June of last year, we had hospice come by, and they were asking some questions to my mom about how old she was and where she was born and all that stuff. And then they asked her if she had children. And my mom kind of gave her a blank stare, but I know she knows that we were there. But so during that week, those couple weeks, I visited her every day with my dog Milo. And the last day we were there, I was there with Andrea. We were running some errands, and we weren't there with Milo. And my mom goes, "Where's Milo?" And I'm like, wait a second. She doesn't remember she has kids, and she can't even see this dog, and she's asking how he is. So those are the two stories. But I love you, Mom, and I'll miss you so much. And that's it.
Please rise. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Sheila Muriel Orleans, who is gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bound of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may her repose be in peace. And now let us respond. Amen. Shir Hamalot Mimamakim Karaticha Adonai. Adonai Shema B'Koli Tiana Zenecha Kashuvot Lekol Tachanunai. Im Avonot Tishmo Yadonai Mi Ya'amod Ki Imcha Slicha Lema'an Tivarei Kavit Yadonai Kivata Nafshi Valid Varo Chalti Nafshi Ladonai Mishomrim Laboker Shomerim Laboker Yachil Yisrael El Adonai Ki Im Adonai Chesed Verbe Mofedut V'hu Yiftet Yisrael Mikol Avonotav. We're going to now do the burial service. We're going to ask the mourners to come forward, and you'll place a little of the earth from Israel on top first. I'm going to explain the custom. First, we're going to lower the casket into the ground. We're going to first pour a little of this dirt in as symbolic. The custom is to use the back end of the shovel first, and then you can pour a little with the front end of the shovel. Once we do a little of that, we'll cover it, and then we're going to fully go. That we can do is to accompany someone and to give them the proper honor at the grave. Anyone that would like to participate is welcome to come over. There's a little dirt here, and you pour a little dirt in.
Once everybody's had a chance to put several measures of earth into the grave, just as a reminder, there is a register book in the back of the tent. For those who have not had a chance to sign in, please do so.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to make sure everybody signed the book, in case it rains, we're gonna take the register book out, so we'll speak more people can fit in the tent. So please take a moment to sign the book, because we are going to take that away momentarily. Folks, if you wanna come to this side. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, the gentlemen from the cemetery, they're going to just take like one big scoop, then we'll do the rest by hand. And it'll be softer underneath. If we can just step back for a moment. We'll do by hand, the sign of respect we want to make.
Yeah. I know. Mark's there with her.
Yeah,
Doing
I'm saying that she's sort of hot, she
she wasn't doing well right before he was.
but she seemed a good woman. So
I just
I understand. I mean, I understand.
blood pressure just went.
Taking the boards, it's easy.
Yeah, I'm sure she's doing well.
Slide the shovel underneath the board.
Found a good place for her to be, so. Yeah. She's 15.
Stand over.
Restores life, lowers down to the grave and raises up. The rock, perfect in every action, who can tell God how to act? God, whose word generates deed, do undeserved kindness with us. In the merit of him, Yitzhak, who was bound like a lamb, hearken and act. Righteous one in all ways, the rock who is perfect, slow to anger and full of compassion, please have mercy and spare parents and children, for yours, Master, are forgiveness and compassion. Righteous are you, Lord, to cause death and to restore life, for in your hand is the safekeeping of all spirits. Far be it from you to erase our memory. May your eyes compassionately take cognizance of us, for yours, Master, are compassion and forgiveness. For a person, whether a year old or whether living 1,000 years, of what profit is it? As if having never been shall that person be. Blessed is the true judge, who engenders death and revives. Blessed is God, for God's judgment is true. God scans everything with God's eye and recompenses the person according to the account and the just sentence, and all must give God's name acknowledgement. We know, Lord, that your judgment is righteous. You are righteous when you speak and pure when you judge. There is no complaining about the manner of your judgment. Righteous are you, Lord, and your judgments are fair. True judge, judge of righteousness and truth, blessed is the true judge, for all of God's judgments are righteous and true. The soul of all the living is in your hand. Righteousness fills your right hand and your power. Have mercy on the remnant of the sheep of your hand, and say to the angel of death, hold back your hands. Great in counsel and abundant in deed, your eyes are open upon all the ways of the children of humankind, to give to each one according to their ways and according to the fruit of their deeds. Declare that the Lord is just, my rock, in whom there is no wrong. The Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. Blessed is the name of the Lord. And God, the merciful one, will forgive iniquity, not destroy, frequently withdrawing anger, not arousing the entirety of God's rage.
We're going to Kaddish. Here's the Kaddish. Oh, do you have that?
Yav v'yikadash shemei rabbah. V'yalma tivarach hirutei v'yamlech malkutei v'chayekon u'yomekon u'v'chayek v'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam lomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitparar v'yitraman v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kusha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran v'alma v'yamru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom v'mromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen.
Friends, this does conclude our service here at the graveside. The family will be sitting Shiva back at the Orleans residence, 2500 Stonebridge Lane, immediately following the interment until 9 p.m. this evening, and tomorrow afternoon 1 to 4. Memorial contributions in Sheila's memory can be made to the Alzheimer's Association, the American Heart Association, or to the charity of your choice, and that information is available in the folders, and for those of you who are online, that information is on our website. The rabbi will now lead us in the traditional words of comfort. If I could ask everybody who's not the immediate mourners to follow David and to face two quarters, so sort of an aisleway facing each other, as we escort the family, Jim, Laura, into their shiva. So again, everybody who's not the immediate mourners, you are going to head towards the road facing each other in two aisleways.
Folks, the traditional words are on the back of the service folder on the lobby.
Okay, folks, as the mourners pass through, you'll repeat, please, after me. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem Betoch Sha'ah Avlei Zion V'Yushalayim. May Hashem comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem.